Rutani lived in a big, beautiful house. She had a lot of money because she owned many houses and rented them out to people. But Rutani had a surprising secret. All of her wealth came from begging. Every morning, Rutani put on old torn clothes and an old hat. She looked like a poor person. She would go to places where people didn't know her and sit on the streets with a small bowl, asking for money. People thought she was a real beggar, but they didn't know that all her money and houses came from this secret lifestyle. Even though she was rich now, she wasn't about to quit her day job anytime soon. One day, as Rutani was sitting on the streets, a young man named Michael, one of her tenants, walked by. He thought the way she was sitting and asking for money seemed familiar, but he didn't recognize her right away. He watched her for a while and felt curious. A few days later, Michael visited Rutani at her big fancy house to pay his rent. He was shocked to see her dressed in fine clothes and living in such a beautiful home, and then it all made sense. He was the beggar he saw earlier. He couldn't believe it. "Why do you beg for money when you are so rich?" Michael asked, confused. Rutani smiled. "Before I tell you, Michael, how much do you make at your job?" Michael thought for a moment and then said, "I make 70,000 naira a month." Rutani nodded and said, "Well, let me show you something." She took him to her study and showed him her records. "On a good week, I make 200,000 naira from begging. Even on bad days, I still earn about 80,000 naira. Michael's eyes widened in shock. He couldn't believe how much money she made just from begging. He looked around at her grand home and all the things she owned. "Is that how you got all this?" Michael asked. Rutani smiled. "Yes, everything I have, the houses, the money, it all came from begging. Even now, with all my wealth, I'm not going to quit. It's what built my life." Michael was amazed. "I didn't know begging could give you so much money," he said. Rutani laughed softly and said, "It's not just about the money. It's about living life the way you want." Inspired by her story, Michael decided to quit his job and try begging too. He handed in his resignation and started begging, using the tricks Rutani taught him. At first, it was hard, but Michael worked very hard and began to make good money. Rutani watched Michael from a far distance and saw how he was doing. She knew it wasn't always easy, but she also knew he would enjoy the success. Michael and Rutani both kept their secrets, enjoying their strange lives as millionaire beggars.